Thank you, sir. Number 5, discussion and action items. Discuss and take possible action, budget items for fiscal year 2026 and 2027. Ms. Kelly.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Let's see, what slide are we on? So I know it says TIRZ and EDC budget presentation up there, but we're just going to go over the TIRZ portion in this meeting. We'll continue on with the EDC at your next meeting. Sorry, Mike, got something in my eye. There we go. So we're going to walk through this. If you could go to the next slide, I think we'll just get right into it. So what you see here is, why do I have it? Mine are in a different order. All right. So TIRZ revenue is projected at $370,000. Proposed expenditures total approximately $490,000. The increase is primarily associated with personnel support and the proposed one-time capital projects expenses. This produces a planned deficit of approximately $120,000 in that fund. Again, this is an intentional use of reserves. Even after the proposed expenditures, the fund is expected to maintain an ending balance of approximately $1.16 million. Do you want to go to the next one? Oh. Somehow I missed the proposed changes. Left arrow ready. Oh, all right. I had this one before the other one. That's wrong. So there are several changes to the TIRZ budget. The first is funding 10% of the finance director's salary and benefits, reflecting time spent administering and overseeing the fund. The proposed budget also includes funding for a project manager position. The building inspector position that was previously being requested has been removed. In addition, the budget includes $170,000 for an infrastructure project and $200,000 for parks revitalization and other projects. The specific projects will return to the board for consideration and approval as they are identified. So that's the same one we just went over. Oh, okay. Well, that was it. I have 2 slides.
So I understand funding 10% of the finance director.
Yes,
But
sir.
Were we just not using the building inspector position?
After feedback from council at our 2 budget workshops, we removed that from the
Okay.
budget
All right.
request.
I actually don't understand why we have salary in here at all. My understanding was that the primary purpose of the TIRZ was to use money to improve infrastructure for the city. And in the time that I've been sitting on the committee, the work that's been done has primarily been at the pool. So I'm just not real sure why we need to spend money on a project manager and, quite frankly, 10% of anybody's salary to do this work with TIRZ funds. I'm not saying that the work doesn't need to be done, but I don't feel like it needs to be done with the TIRZ budget.
I understand. So this year, we implemented a straw salary for every single fund across the city, and all positions were apportioned based on the percentage that they work in that fund. For example, we have a police officer that provides warrant officer services for the court, and he's a bailiff. 80% of his salary comes out of the court fund. It doesn't all come out of general fund. So that's what the benefit of a straw salary is. You actually apportion costs to the appropriate fund, and that's how we came up with the 10%.
So are you proposing that you would do time and effort or
That's understandable. I mean, we can certainly look at how the percentage is allocated.
Guys, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Or I guess maybe the question would be, where did 10% come from? How did you get that data to get that, for that?
I wish I had an answer for you. Ashley could certainly better explain that than I can. I was not involved in the allocations. I just know the the rationale behind it.
Okay, well, at 51 weeks, at 40 hours a week, you're saying she does 3.9 hours every single week on TIRZ for the whole year. That's what it breaks down to at 10%. That's not feasible. I have a degree in finance. There is no way this little bit takes 4 hours a week. I'm just saying, I mean, I've really looked at everything and made a lot of phone calls and done a lot of research when this showed up to be on the budget, on the agenda tonight. And I cannot believe 16 hours a month. There's no way. And that's what you are allocating from us. I assume the police department's paying 10% too, and so is the Parks Department, and so is Main Street. Everyone's got a percentage of this that she
Yes.
works on?
Yes, they do. The majority of her salary is, the largest percentage is coming out of utilities.
For ours, theirs are a lot more than ours is for 12 reports. That's all I'm saying.
Understand?
I mean,
That's a
and all I've heard.
valid concern.
Yeah, I mean, she does a phenomenal job. I have no complaints with the lady, but 10% is too much, as far as I'm concerned. And as far as the 120,000, research shows there's 489 active TIRZ in the state of Texas right now. No one has a full-time director except major cities that bring in millions of dollars. Less than 10% have an active director paid. And those are places like Houston, who has 10 TIRZ and brings in millions of dollars. Why would we have a director to take 33% of our budget?
So it's not a director's position, it's a project manager's position, and it is specifically for, if you've seen the budget workshops for the city, we have identified $4.5 million in infrastructure improvements just in the next budget. That's a lot of projects that need to be facilitated and overseen. The majority of those, more than likely, are gonna be in the business district, the downtown core, the commercial areas, because they obviously need the most help, and that's where we can spend the most money. So we need to build capacity for these positions, and that was one of the thoughts, was to fund this.
33% of our budget. I can't justify that to the citizens of Freeport. The TIRZ was actually formed for doing sidewalks and basic infrastructure, to have a director where we've been doing it voluntarily. And again, no small towns that are small with like us doing this type money has a project person at $120,000 a year. Just did my homework, that's all.
Mr. President, may I provide some context?
Of course.
In the past, we have always, when I first came on board, Mr. Kelty said that the city manager and the EDC director work on TIRZ projects jointly, and then the EDC has always done the minutes and set up the meetings and things like that. But this year, there is this change. I'd also just like to provide some context, because I called around and also met with some of our regional partners. The way a TIRZ, there are administrative costs for a lot of TIRZs, and probably 80%. But the way they're set up, for instance, Alvin's TIRZ directly serves a MUD district, and there's more development costs in meeting with developers, and they're reimbursing developers. So I guess the point that I'm trying to make is TIRZ programs are structured differently depending on what the objective of the TIRZ is. Now, our TIRZ, as you all know, is a broadly defined, meaning so we can do a wide range of projects. It's not narrowly defined like Alvin's. And it gives us a lot of latitude to do projects. And, you know, the question becomes, what kind of management do we need for that, if any? But I just wanted to provide that context. A lot of it is the kind of TIRZ you have and how it's set up as to the amount of salaries or costs, et cetera, that the TIRZ pays. And one other thing, it also has to be done within the TIRZ district. That, you know, whatever's being funded can't suddenly start working out, you know, on you know, just the entryways of the town or something like that.
Robert, I have a question for you. You mentioned that the EDC does some work preparing for TIRZ meetings and such. Are you guys going to start charging us?
Rachel has asked me that ever since she's come on board. I have never contemplated, nor do I intend to ever charge. I honor the arrangement that Tim Kelty and I had when as far as I understood, that's always how it's been. There's a cooperative spirit. I have no intention of charging for writing minutes and posting agendas and handling projects.
I think for the purposes of context and charging the different funds, what we're not able to allocate to other funds comes strictly out of general fund, which is then funded by property tax. So that directly impacts every resident's tax rate that they're going to see here. But if we're able to appropriate from other funds to cover the costs of staff time that actually work in that fund, that's the rationale, is to keep the tax burden low on the residents.
Sure, but it feels like you're then taking $17,000 from the residents who had intended for this to benefit the infrastructure of the city.
Again, we're putting $4.5 million from other funds into infrastructure and beautification of the city this year.
So that position for the project manager would be a 40-hour full-time job, and what you have discussed that's coming up, all that time would be, we would need somebody for 40 hours to do that for $102,000, right? Are you saying?
It would be a full-time job. There's a lot of deferred maintenance, non-existent infrastructure, antiquated infrastructure that needs to be addressed in this town, and we need the resources to do it.
So who's been doing that right now?
Nobody.
And I don't know if this is a dumb question. So how does that come from the EDC funds versus the city funds? Is that a stupid question?
How does, what?
So
I'm sorry, I don't
for the
understand.
position,
Mhm.
it's a TIRZ fund, so how, for the position that you're wanting to fill for this project manager, and how does that come from the TIRZ fund versus the city fund? Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. So the rationale is the majority of these projects are going to be in the TIRZ district, the commercial district, the downtown core, and we need somebody to help facilitate all of these projects.
So you mentioned 10% for the finance director to help because she's helping with the TIRZ. So this is a project for the city and it's in the TIRZ district. So then why wouldn't it be 50-50? 50 comes from the EDC and 50 comes from the city to employ this person? Because you just spoke percentages. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're asking, but we can look at a split. I will say that the majority of the projects we're targeting are in the TIRZ district.
Well, yes, and I totally agree. I understand that part. But the TIRZ district is in the city of Freeport.
Sure.
So 50/50. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I understand.
Mr. President, may I ask another question? Have we contemplated how this will be monitored? Because a TIRZ position would have to, if they're being paid by the TIRZ, they'd have to, and I heard you say the majority of their thing, it would have to be all of their things. How is that going to be monitored?
So it's a great question. I said the majority of the projects, so projects that are outside of the TIRZ district would be handled by either a consultant or somebody else on staff so that there is no overlap.
Gary, you got any comments?
Yeah, just quickly, it looks like, this money, the more of this that we use for what appears to be on the surface, just some more implementation staff, is the less that goes to what it was designed for. And I look at this, I'm just, spitballing, but I say, we have a hurricane in that area of TIRZ control. It has a lot of damage. This is money that could go there. And in my book, this is already being handled right now. I don't know what more efficiency we're going to gain from this. But if we have to decide who gets paid for doing what, then we'll have to go in and divide everyone's time up into whatever project or whatever department they're working in. But TIRZ is essentially implemented by the city, so I don't see why any other city employee could do these small, minor jobs quickly. I mean, everybody here works for free. I don't know how much attention an actual project needs to take on, but that would fall into the city anyway. If the city is having issues with funding its employees, then we probably need to go back and just scramble everything and divide away the way everyone's paid. You'd have to, just for my purposes, look across the board and see how much time they put in each one of these things. But it looks like a different way of approaching paychecks than just saying a lot of these things fall into the city. And I don't know how much more exact eyeballs we need here, because I know, like, if for legal purposes, TIRZ, I believe, accounting-wise, just puts out one page, only has to put out like one page a year to show the funding for the feds. So it's not a lot of work there. Everything else we look at is more like, I'm not going to call it generating more work, but it's already being looked at. And if someone thinks we need someone to put more scrutiny into it, then I guess we need to decide about putting somebody in charge of just reviewing what's being done. But the city has the oversight on everything that TIRZ does, correct? So, anyway, I just kind of wanted to throw that process out there. I just had that feeling, once again, that we have this fund, and by putting more levels of implementation in there, we're pulling away the value of that fund that can be dropped out quickly. And I think the fluid nature of TIRZ is great, because we're not pinned down to some budget and all this money's going out in a certain time. And then also I look at an employee. If you have this employee, we're not guaranteed these funds are coming in. It could be a couple bad years and we barely make enough to pay the employee off, and then we got no money to distribute. I just throwing that out there. Okay.
So I just want to point out that this is a proposal, and we're here for feedback, and we're happy to take this back and, take into consideration all that you have talked about here today. And, we are not finalizing our budget for some time now, but this is our first, much like we had a budget workshop with the council, we're now presenting this to you the first time.
Ken, comments? No, sir. I have a couple of comments. I think, I was like Ronnie, I went and got a hold of my old accountants and my old CPA guys, and we were looking at it, and I showed them, what we were looking at. And all of them were right around the $200 to $300 a month fee. So, as Gary pointed out, there's not a whole lot of work there. And so it's tough for me to look at, just from my perspective. I certainly want to have the flexibility, with the TIRZ. That's one of the main proponents of having the TIRZ is that it can be flexible and readily available to try to help the city when they're in need. And the counting piece of it, I just, I have a little problem with that. I
The
do.
county piece?
The $17,000, I think at $500 a month.
Oh, accounting. I'm sorry. I thought you said county.
Yeah,
Sorry, I misheard you.
The financial piece,
Yes.
yeah. So I just throwing that out, I mean, I did a little homework and went and got a hold of my old, the accountant I have now and my CPA, and they're looking at $350, $500 a month to cover the cost.
And, Mr. President, when I was in Gladewater, the city didn't keep our accounting. The EDC did with a firm, and it's been a little bit ago, but I think we only paid $4,000 a year for that.
Yeah.
My other question is, this is in a formal budget model. Wouldn't it be better to put it in like a project account model to keep the fluidity? And I base that upon how this was set up. It's a, as I mentioned earlier, it's a broadly tailored TIRZ. And so to give us the flexibility
Sure.
to do projects on the spot, it just seems to me, rather than a formal budget model, we could do the project account model, which allows for if we need a budget, it would allow for much more fluidity when regarding projects.
I understand. So the rationale behind a budget model is transparency and flexibility, like you mentioned. So if we appropriate these funds now, we don't have to keep going back for budget amendments every time we want to spend $1 and come here and then go to council and then implement something. So it actually gives staff the flexibility because it's already been appropriated. And then as far as transparency, the citizens can see what we're targeting to spend funds on instead of being, I guess, just having a blank slate and a pot of money.
So I am intrigued by the 4.5 million
Yes,
worth
ma'am.
of projects. I would love to see that.
Sure.
That list, because I don't really have a problem funding the repair of a pool, but if there's $4.5 million worth of projects,
Yes.
I would like to have those on our radar. Not that we can't respond to emergencies, but as it is now, I'm like, well, what are we funding? And if we've got 4.5, what are those projects and in what priority order and how are they time sequenced and what does that look like? Because if we can start planning for how to invest these investment dollars, I would rather at least consider that than, yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely get that to you.
I think, having whatever information that you can give to us for that project management, and that'll enlighten us and educate us more on what those realities are. And I definitely agree with the flexibility and the fluidity of what you've got to have within the TIRZ, because it's a reactive model. And we need to be reactive, and I'm just thinking, a project-based accounting system would probably be best, rather than an itemized line item thing, which we would have to go back. To me, the flexibility and the fluidity of it would really be based on a project model, which is what we currently have. That's just my thoughts too.
I don't know if it's my ignorance or what, but on the projected 2026, we have 170,000, 169,693. How do we go from that to almost $500,000? Right here.
You have a capital outlay recreation of 370,000 identified.
That 400 is an addition.
It's a third
Sorry,
line item from the
sharing
project.
mics today. So the 490,000 is the 170,000 for infrastructure, the 200,000 for parks and miscellaneous projects, plus the project manager position and the 10% for the finance director salary, all added up. That's why the projection is so much higher The actual amount is over, we have 370,000 that will be going into this budget next year. And because of everything added up together, that's what that total is. So we're actually 120,000, just off the top of my head, over
The 137,
the
yep.
budget. So we would be pulling from reserves to fund everything that's been put on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, Tim. That was good. Robert, you have any more?
No, I know, in previous years, we, for instance, are reporting, and Ashley does a phenomenal job. I'm not, but it seems to be, how can we reduce the cost, perhaps cut some of the time? One thing I do know is when Kathy was here, the state mandates a report from the TIRZ, but that was just a one-sheeter. And then, much to Ashley's credit, she started, I think she saw the one from Bay City that had all the wheels and charts and pictures. That's not mandatory, so that might cut down time too, as far as spending, if we just went back. I think the fancier one is great, but if it's an issue where we've got all kinds of time being spent on TIRZ, there's one way to cut down some time.
Good point.
Just do what the state requires, and that's it. Don't go, because it becomes a time issue.
Any other comments? Ron, you got anything?
As it stands right now, I will vote no on most of this without more explanation, any more breakdown, because there's no way, I just can't. You can hire someone from outside for less money. I've done the same homework you did, called my accountant, my current accountant, and he said, it's too
Can't hear what
much.
you're saying.
I'm sorry.
Ken, you have anything else to add?
No, sir.
Our resident accounting person?
Okay, I know this is the early stages, so then what's next? So what are we leaving her with to do? Or is there any, it's a discussion, but what all are we letting her go back to check on? I just want to make sure, so she knows what, right? Do you know?
Oh,
Or
I
do you
know. I've
Okay,
taken
good.
copious notes here, and.
Okay, super.
Yes, thank you.
Gotcha. Okay, then I'm good.
So what's the pleasure of the board? You think we ought to, we want to table this at this point?
Make a motion, we table this.
Do I have a second? A second from Gary. Any other discussion? Call to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. There are none. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Ms. Kelly, thank you so much for coming up and enlightening us. Hopefully, we can come to an agreement with this. Are we ready for adjournment?
Yes, sir.
I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. Oh, I thought somebody, oh, I misunderstood. I'll
Either
make a
one of us.
motion to adjourn.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
And we have a second. All those in favor? Call to vote. Aye. All those opposed? Nay. There are none. Passed unanimously. We are adjourned at
6:07.
6.